Hi, my name is Mariusz, and today I would like to show you what I've changed in my application. Today I would like to focus on the right part of the GUI, and also I would like to show you some changes that I've made in the bottom part. So let's go to the code and let's see what I've made. Okay, so as I said, most of the time I spent on the right part of the GUI. So let's just quick go through the left part. I have to make there some changes. I've add invoice controller injected into this left part of GUI. And I've put there some default values for invoice number, and also I've moved the binding value that was responsible for disabling this left part into the invoice controller, so the controller will just provide this value to fragments. And here I've added a method to invoice controller when to the button OK, when it will be clicked, all the data about basic data about invoice will be pushed to the invoice controller and stored there in some kind of data structure. And for cancel, I also moved logic responsible for canceling into the invoice controller. So when cancel will be pressed, some data will be cleared inside of the invoice controller, and probably the model is still in here in this fragment. So in the future I will just move it somewhere else. So at this moment I'm clearing this model. And I think that's all about the left part. Let's go to the right part, so the details about invoice. I've moved there, or I should said I've added there here two controllers, one for products and other one for invoice controllers. So this is the same controller that is on the left part, and it will store the data about products added to the to this invoice. And here I have a model. It's invoice product model. I will show you this in a moment. And the same disable property, but it work negating the value that is already set. So if left part is available for editing, the right part is not, and vice versa. So it's just a simple boolean property. Here I have some issues with this part is a product list, and it's just a list of products from product controller. At this moment it's just a simple observable list, and I display here just text of product name, and it is binded to model product property. And here I have three fields: quantity, price, and discounts. I had a lot of issues with creating these fields are as boolean, as big decimal fields. So I had to add this strip non-numeric. So each value that is not numeric will be stripped of this field. And here it should be also here in price. And I've put here it's all the fields are of course mapped to the model, but I had to put here a converter, a big decimal converter, that will convert me all the values that are put into this text field into big decimal value. Also, I had to add here a validator to validate if the quantity is greater than 0. For this field it's quantity greater than 0. for price also, but for discount it can be 0. So the correct message will be displayed, and of course those fields, those two fields, price and quantity, are marked as required, so they can be empty fields. And what else we have here? Of course, the description is also mapped to the model, bind to the model. And here we have add product button. This button will just put another item into the invoice controller and into the list that is inside of invoice controller, and then we'll run method clear model. The clear model method is really simple. It's just clearing all the fields to its default values. So product is null, and rest of those are set to 0, plus description is cleared. And at the end I have this button save in database, and it will just save the data that was pushed to the invoice controller and it store it into database. And also the bottom part of the GUI, it contains a table view, and for now it's have 6 columns. All of those columns are taken from invoice controller item list. So the add button here, this one, add product, push the data into invoice controller and into a list of products, and the table view just fetch the data from that invoice controller from product list and put those products into table view. For this moment I don't have any kind of any possibility to edit this data after they are put here, so this will be a feature for future changes. And I think that's all if it's about the first GUI. Let's look at the other classes that I had to add, because I have 4 more classes that I added to the application. So let's switch to another one. Let's make it bigger. Okay, big decimal converter. It's just a simple converter. I'll just override some methods that were available in big decimal string converter. It's a converter that is provided by JavaFX util converter, and it allowed to convert a string into big decimal, but for the purpose of my application there, I had some issues with converting values that where the values were separated with a dot. It just showed me an exception, so I had to I'm sorry, if it was separated with a comma, then it showed me an exception, so I had to replace this comma with a dot, and at this moment it's work as I expect, and it works correctly. And it's as I said, it's just a override of the method from this class. And let's look on the controllers. Okay, let's make it bigger. Okay, invoice controller will store everything about the invoice that I will add into the application. So we'll store basic data and also some the details about products added to the invoice. So this property will be responsible for showing and hiding, or I should say disabling and enabling one of the parts in the GUI. Invoice data will store basic data about invoice, so the shop, the account, and the date, and invoice number. And invoice product list will store a list of products added to this invoice. And as you notice in the previous class, the main view, I had this in list item list method that will just return the invoice product list. It will be used to display data in table view, and this method just return in progress in info, and it will allow to change the availability of part of the GUI, and add item method will be responsible for adding new invoice product into the list. And here this method is not implemented yet, it just save the data, it will save the data into database somehow. Add invoice, this method will just store invoice data, so it will just create a new class, new instance of the class invoice data, and also will change the in progress value, so the left part will be disabled at this moment. Cancel invoice will work opposite, so it will just set it to false, so it will enable left part and disable right part of the GUI, and also will create the clear the invoice data and clear the invoice product list, so there will be nothing there after this cancel button will be clicked, and this method will be invoked. Here I have some invoice data. It's just a class to store some values. I will convert this into a model view in the future. So for now, it's just a simple class dangling here. And let's look on the product controller. It's really simple. Let's make it bigger. Okay, it's nothing fancy here. Just a simple controller that will hold the data about products. Here I have some default values for now, and one method that will return this product list, and also data class product that just holds some simple data, and in the future I will just change this class, and probably it will be I don't know, maybe it will be changed to some kind of model view. I'm not sure. For now, it's just for the purpose of this demo, and for at this moment, it's just a simple class. And at the end, we have invoice model. Let's make it bigger. Invoice model will store the data about data that will be pushed into the model on the right side of the GUI. So it will store data about the product, quantity, price, discount, and description. And it have a product model and invoice product. So this invoice product model is it just store the model product. It's wrap model product. I mean invoice product. And here I have two simple methods. This one is I think it's work correctly, because this should display the name of the product from this product class. So when I push the data from left part of the GUI into this model, then this model will just hold the product for the first value, for the first field, and from this product class I want to fetch product name, and this class will just help me to do that. It is used in this table view bottom part, and will display a product name, and this one will be responsible for displaying total price for product. So it will just calculate quantity and value and the price of the other product, and will also calculate somehow how this discount will be added to this calculation. But for now I have to just mock this and return 1, because I have to think about this calculation. Previously I worked on the doubles, and it was a little bit simpler, but also it doesn't contain any discount logic, so I will have to think about it, how to implement this. And I think that's all classes has been mentioned, all classes that I added in this commit. So yeah, for the next video, I plan to probably work on this part, and maybe I will work on the bottom part, so the table view will be there will be availability to change the data, to edit data that are already in table view. So as I said in the few previous videos, that I want to have a possibility to edit products that were already added into the table view, and maybe I will add their additional um, column, or maybe it will be some kind of context menu that will allow me to delete item from this from that table view. And I think that's all for now. I don't want to make it any longer. So see you in the next update. Bye bye.